Hello and welcome to another edition of Luminar Coffee Break. I'm your host, Vanelli. Now, I'm filling in for Angela Andrew, who has the day off. Now, our topic today is how to enhance an image with muted colors. So how to enhance an image with muted colors. Let's dive right in. All right, so here we have this really good image of this beautiful model. What we're going to do is we'll convert it to black and white. Then I'll show you how we're going to add the muted colors to it. So let's check what the templates are going to suggest for us. Sure enough, it's going to suggest a black and white template. Authentic, ooh, that's a nice one too, but I'm going to stick with the black and white one. One of my favorite is Soulful. Look at, there it is. So now let's get really good. So I'm going to click on Edit. Now from Edit at this point, let's check out what they did here. And they use black and white. So I can go into the black and white tool, make my changes here, like I'll show you what I mean. So I can bring back some of the reds and so on. Or what I can do is to keep it all consistent and come down right here. And this is like the master slider. Here's before. Here's after. Look at that. I mean, how cool is that I can take that one slider. Now it's going to control all of them on top. And because we chose a black and white tool, we can take this slider, dial it back, right about there. So it's about 50%. So I'm not at 100% here. The colors are right about there. And now there's my, there's a muted looking color. And I can continue to enhance it. Details. Go. All right. So again, here's before. And there's after. That's one way of doing the muted colors. Now I'm going to come back to another one. And let's select from the catalog. I'm going to come over here and grab instant styles. Here we go. This one right here is going to be a beautiful example. Look at this. Before, once it comes up. Here we go, before and after. One more time, before and after. And now for this particular one, let me click on Edit. Now for the Edit, let's check out what we did a little bit different. I'm going to move my screen up just a little bit so I can see. All right. Yeah, so David, let's pull this up for a minute, David. All right, David's saying, is that an equivalent in using Photoshop? Okay, so David, look at it from this perspective. What we're doing is, with one or a few quick adjustments, we're able to completely change the way an entire image looks. Okay, so in Photoshop, think about you're using layers all the way through, and you're building on the effect, building on the effect, building on the effect. It's taking you a while to get to where you want, and then flatten all of it, and then you would lower the opacity, and that's how you get muted colors. Here, what I'm trying to do, instead of changing individual tools, this bottom right here, look at this. Pull it up here. This bottom piece right here is what's doing it for me. So here's what it looks like full strength. And this is what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to back it off, taking all of the tools that I have with one slider, moving it back. All right? So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to come in here and let's see which one is the, I like that. I'm looking for the signature. There we go. So I'm going to delete the signature for a moment. Then come down here, save. So what I just did was I built this template. Now I'm going to check out the template itself that I just built. And it's right here. Let me rename it. I'm going to name that Iconic Fade. Enter. All right. So let's come back here. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to start right from the very beginning. So this is the original image. All right. So now what we're going to do is take what we did. I'm going to take what we just did here for templates. And I'm going to apply the template that we just created. Now that I have it, I can come down here, slowly, until I get that faded look that I want. So there are so many different ways we can add that faded look to it. That was just one way. Just you build upon the tools, what you like, create a template, and then boom, move that template just a little bit to where you get the look you're going for. Let me show you one last example. So let's go back to edit. And there we are. So like I said, I absolutely adore this image to the point where I wish I took it. I can imagine this being, let's say, an engagement photo shoot, or even, an anniversary. I love this shot big time. So from here, templates, I'm going to let it recommend again which template would be good for it. I like this. Before and after. So now I'm going to come back over here. And now I'm going to apply a different template or a different tool to this to give me that muted color. I'm going to come over here to mood. And mood, I get to choose a LUTs. Now, a LUTs is a lookup table. And what it's going to end up doing for me is it's going to let me change the colors of the image. So it's going to substitute the colors. So let's get to one I like. Who do I like? You know what? I like this one right here. All right? Now, here it goes. Map. Now I'm going to take this amount, just arbitrarily get out. Here it comes. Now look at this. Ooh, I love this tool. So I can take it, dial back some of the vividness of it, and give it that old matte type look. Look at that. Before, after. Hey, David, I'll answer your questions in just a moment. Hello, Julie. Now I can still come back into color toning. Look at this. Now I can even add a different set of colors to this image. Look at that. So, right about there. Done. Now, if I like how this looks, which I really do, notice I didn't have to come down here and change anything like we did. The only thing, I want a little more black into the image. So I'm going to come up here to light and just enrich the blacks a little bit. Give it a second to catch up. Notice when it's illuminating blue, it means it's thinking. Ooh, that's really taking shape. And the contrast just a little. There we go. All right. So now that I have it set, as you guessed it, come down here, save. Once I saved it, I'm going to come back to templates just to show you where it is. Under my templates, there it is, brush up. And I want to rename it. Now in this case, because I already started with somebody else's template, I'm just going to leave the name brush up, but I'm going to add the word fade to it. So now I know it's mine. So I remade this looking for me, but I know where I started from, to where if I ever get the itch to come up with a different version of this, I can start with the same brush up one because I liked it, and then make edits from there. All right? Let me grab some of the questions. All right. So let's go back up to David first of all. David, welcome. Do you prefer Luminar AI than the last one? So I think what you recommend is, do I prefer Luminar AI over Luminar 4? For me personally, again, yes. I just love where we're heading with Luminar AI. As for it being a monthly subscription, no, it's a one-time, you buy it and it's yours. All right? And let me go back to here. Oh, I'm so sorry. And our good friend Julie, what would you use to remove the yellow color of the older photo? All right, Julie, I'll let you help me answer that question. What do you think would be a good tool to change the color? We'll come to edit. Let me put that back up here. So, Jules, good. I'll answer it for you. Color. So if I come over to color, HSL, hue, saturation, and luminance, I can pinpoint what color I want to work with. So, Julie, you're not a fan of that yellow. So let's say I can either change the hue of the yellow, saturation, or the luminance of it. I'm going to change the luminance of the color first, just so you can see what we're dealing with. Let's see. Good. Yes, Jules, the color tool. So in this case here, there we go. I'm changing. You see where that's what's going to be affected. So what I may do is come in, change the hue, let's say. See what I'm getting at? So I can take away some of that yellow if you're not a fan of it, or bring some of it back. Of course, saturation. There we go. All right, Jules. Let me know, Jules, if this is what you were looking towards. Now, by the way, all of this here just took a fraction of the time. It hardly took any time whatsoever. So that's going to give us more time just to experiment. I'm going to come over here to the texture tool, or I'm sorry, the local masking tool, and click on texture. Now I'm going to load a texture. And a real quick tip, I mentioned this before, under my photos, I have an underscore assets. And here's where I store all the different assets, textures, templates, LUTs, and so on. So here's some textures. Let's see. I know, okay, let's use this one right here, a frame. So I added a frame to the scene. And what I want to do is place it properly. So I'm going to and have it fit into place. There we go. All right, now I put the frame in there, I can come in, and by the way, the opacity is set at 50%. If I start to increase the opacity, look what it's doing. So I can have like a little faded, where you can see some of the image from underneath it. I can change the layer blend modes to really make it emphasize. Let's see. I kind of like darken. Nope. Let's go to multiply. All right. So there I have it here. Let me get myself out of the way. So I like how that's looking. Maybe bump up some of the contrast to it. That looks good. And while we're at it, we can stack another effect on top of it. This time I want to stack a texture. Let's put a rough pattern. Here we go. Good. Now, definitely need to change the blend mode. There we go. Yeah, let's go to overlay. I'm going to dial it back just a little bit. Increase, let's say, the brightness of it. Contrast. Here we go. Now, and at this point, if let's say that's not the texture that I want, I can come back in, load a different texture, and what's neat about this, it's going to conform to where that last texture was. So I don't have to resize it again. There we go. And drop it there. Done. Good. So did that make a layer on top of the original? Yes. So let me put that in here, lock into place, before and after. Now, Jules brought up something really interesting here. What I love best about Luminar is you're not locked in to going in order. So like in Photoshop, for example, which is ironic, it's a graphics program, but all of its graphic artists, or all of us artists, are very like, you know, we like to go at our own pace or do things however we want. With Photoshop, you do have to follow a set order, because if you don't have that set order, something you do over here may affect something you do way down here. What's really good about Luminar is you can go in any order you want. I could crop whenever I want. I don't have to crop in the beginning. I could crop at the end or in the middle, whenever. It's not going to affect what I'm doing. I can add a mood effect, or I can add black and white, whatever, at different stages, and it's not going to affect the order. The only time I've noticed that the order makes a difference is using this tool right here, because if you notice, that texture is on top of the texture we did here. So if I shut this one off, here's this. If I turn it on, that texture is now applied on top of this frame. If I did it in the opposite order, right? Let's delete it. So now there's that texture. And I want to add another texture, which was that frame. Which was under here. Yep. Now the frame should appear, which it did. Now notice how the frame appeared on top of the texture. All right? So whereas before, it was the opposite way. So that's one of the only tools that I'm noticing. Let me place it again. I'm noticing that you do follow a set order. So if I were to put my, let's say, signature, if I wanted a watermark on this, I would wait to the very end. There we go. So here I would wait. Let me do one more. To the very, very end to add my watermark or my logo. Yep, so I have it here. Add texture, load a texture, and we'll use somebody else's watermark right here. And notice it's a PNG. So it's a transparent PNG. I can bring it in. And there we have it. And place it 100%. Now it's on top of all of those layers here. So you're not getting any of the effects that the other ones have. So to me, that's extremely cool that we have those textures to where you can just stack them on top of each other. All right? Well, there we have. That was a little extra tidbit of information in there. So the goal, again, to create the muted colors is we could use a black and white tool and then just fade everything to where it all falls into a very beautiful, that muted color effect. Or we could use tools such as the Mood tool, or the tools that we used was the Matte tool to give it that muted color look. All right? Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Vanelli, and I'll see you at the next coffee break.